My guest at this time has been seen recently over the summer as Pineapple Pete, but now has been popping up on WWE Monday Night Raw. It's our good friend Shug D. Shug, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hey man, like I think we talked like what 6 or 7 months ago last time.
We did. It's been a half year, man, and it has since been the summer of Shug, man. Like I can tell you with all honesty that in the past 2 weeks, at least one day, you have been involved in like the most trafficked item on our website at one point. And
Wow.
we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But people are very interested in you, Shug. You've done a lot of things in the past 6 months. We'll start with the obvious here.
Sure.
You were rechristened Pineapple Pete. What was it like to feud with Chris Jericho and AEW over the summer?
I mean, like it was definitely one of those surreal like. Is this one of those like WWE like WWE like career mode stories? You know what I'm saying? Of like a only in the video games, man. But like um, it definitely let me know that like happenstance is very powerful. Like
Yeah,
when I did his podcast, we went into the whole for anybody that's looking for that, Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho, we got into like the anatomy of all of that.
sure.
But something as small as just like a pineapple shirt at the right time catches the eye, stuff turns into stuff. It was definitely educational. That's the other thing that I can take from it too, because I think people just don't realize like the mind on Chris Jericho. Just even for something that small, the way he got detailed and the way he was very meticulous about how he wanted certain things done, even down to like the promo I recorded. Because this is a guy who knows if we lay it out this way, it's gonna get this kind of reaction. And his track record is pretty damn good. So
Yeah.
we roll with that, and I think they leave him to kind of his own devices on that. But it was good. It was educational. It was a very fun 1 minute and 44 seconds, I guess, for the time that we got to have it. I won't forget it, but I also won't rest on it either.
So I think a lot of people are just a little surprised to see you like pop up in Raw Underground, and we'll get to the Bianca Belair thing
Huh.
because you were on Dynamite, man. And they had music. Didn't you get pyro? Am I wrong?
That was also a Jericho call. He was like, "We got to make this. We got to make this a big move." I remember getting pulled over while like that was a very busy day, and I just remember like in the midst of everything that was going on, and I'm like, I'm having the internal thoughts like, "Man, don't screw this up. Make sure you're on this, yada yada yada." The Also shout out to like the tech crew at AEW. That's one of the hardest working tech crews that I've ever seen. Everybody's so personable. Everybody always in such a good mood when stuff is going on. And you wouldn't believe the stuff that they're asked to do that you don't see, and they're knocking it out. And I really appreciate what they do in the background so that we could have a foreground. But he comes up to me and he's like, yeah. He said, when you get a chance, I got to get with you. We got to get with the positioning on your pyro. And I'm almost like, so my legit answer is I look at him and I'm like, why? he laughs about it, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it's what Jericho wants, so that's what you're gonna get. And I'm like, okay, like all right, but it was awesome. That's another thing I've never been privy to. Like they want to learn what your interest is and the points on your interest, so that they know when to set the thing off.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh wow, I actually have a point on my interests and whatnot. So it's stuff that you don't think about, and it's a very for those who are out there on the indies. I've made a tweet about that yesterday, where it's like um, the worlds are very different. So there's stuff that you are doing out there on the indies, and I'm glad it works. I know it's popping. I know you're making it do, but you also have to make sure that your act is so ironclad, or whatever act that they give you, that it translates when the TV cameras are on. They are two different worlds, and it's okay to say that.
Sure, sure. And as Pineapple Pete here, moving away from Shug D, how hard was that for you to kind of like quickly redefine yourself? Was that fun or was that stressful with you having to make those pivots so quickly?
Both, but that's the business. It's like uh there was a whole new section of fans that like, granted, there are people who knew me as Shug D, but you have to be aware, and you also have to be humble at the fact that like Okay, there's just people who don't know who Suge D is. There are going to be people that'll still call me Pineapple Pete when I show up on TV. It's just going to happen that way.
Yeah.
Now, those who have paid attention over the years or some who dug deeper, yeah, there's equity in Suge, but it's like, okay, but there's also equity in this Pete thing. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. That's how people know. Let's not confuse them. More people probably know about Pete than Suge. So I hurried as fast as I could to get some new tights. I was like, okay, this, like, I come and go out of this hairstyle at one point, but now I was just, let's just go ahead and hold on to it for a little while and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And you just try to do what you can do, because if anything, I wanted to show that, like, hey, I'm a team player. I can make this work. You gave me something that was supposed to be like a one-off joke, and I'm turning it into something, and I'm fleshing it into something.
Yeah, and you did, man. You took what they gave you, you made it work. I mean, I think it's undeniable you made it work, because like you were trending on Twitter at various points. I think Pineapple Pete was like, you know, a thing.
Trending is overrated. I'll put that out there.
Well, I'll put a button in myself then for a moment. Why is trending overrated? Why do you say that?
Man, I'm just like, I think I forget who said it, but it's like, at any given time, you don't want to be the trending topic on Twitter, because it just opens up a bunch of stuff. Like,
Okay.
one of the biggest things that I've definitely noticed is with attention. And here's the thing, I didn't even get the job. Like, it's okay to say that I didn't get the job. I had like a little bit of run. We called it a day. But like, when that's what I mean by the worlds are different. It's one thing on the indies for people to, you know, you get on Twitter or you get on social media and people say this and they say that about you or whatever it is. But I feel like unless you're like on this certain level of indies, it's just such a niche thing.
Yeah.
And then once you start getting into this national level of fans and people that are using Twitter and stuff like that, you got people who don't even know you, who all of a sudden it's like, this is what you deserve. This is why you suck. This is why you rule. This is why it is. And it's a constant barrage of it, whether you're tagged or you're not tagged. It's like, there are some people that are taking this way more seriously than I ever could. And I'm the one that's living it.
Yeah,
You know,
how dare you treat Pineapple Pete Suge D like this? Yeah.
Right. And it's like, suddenly everybody knows my business. Everybody knows my contract status. Everybody knows what I did or I didn't do. I've had a story that I saw in some comments one time where apparently Jericho negotiated a contract for me and I didn't think it was enough money, so I walked away from that to try to figure out what's going on. I've had a story where apparently I was the snitch for like the spoilers that were going out, when it had already been clearly pointed out that it was somebody that got a shot from over in NXT, which I never got a chance to wash out from. I'd like the opportunity, but I never got a chance to wash out from NXT. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But no, it's just, you just start seeing how different people get. And the thing is, I didn't even get the job. Imagine the people who have the job and the stuff that they get on the regular in like their DMs and socially and whatnot. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting to is, you know, like there was a real familiarity there. People thought you were clicking. You know, we've seen talents be signed here in the past few months. Why not Pineapple Pete? Why ultimately do you think it didn't work out for you in the long run with AEW, considering you were, I mean, again, you're on Dynamite, you're working with Jericho, you got this name, you're trending. Like, why not Pineapple Pete?
That's the wrestling business, man. I mean, if I had to give a self-critique, probably could have been in a little bit better shape. At the same time, it's one of those cases. It's something that I've always been battling. I've always been working with. I feel like by the time everything was over, I definitely whipped myself into some better shape. But when you get that opportunity, sometimes you just want to come in as the full package. But it's not like I even knew there was a package to sell at the time. I thought it was just come in, make some people look good, call it a day, and that's what it is. I think the best advice that I could probably give to a lot of people right now is, you have to know what it is and what it isn't. When you walk into these situations, there wasn't a promise of anything. You know, I walked in as Suge D. We're in the middle of a pandemic. There's money to be made. I still get to do what it is that I do. So I walked in and I did it. And then I got this crazy opportunity. And then I got a crazy opportunity that lasted for like 6 months.
Yeah.
I think people have this perception that, oh God, he's bitter, or oh God, he's doing this, or oh God, you know, he's he feels he should have got this, or he's got his nose up in the air because he thinks he's this and he's that. No, I love to wrestle. And occasionally when I wrestle, occasionally, real emphasis on occasionally, I like to get paid. So, like it just made sense. So, but I always was in the back of my mind. There were two thoughts that were always in the back of my mind, especially the last 3 months of it. It could end in one text message or one phone call. And every time that you go out there, you need to buy more time. Every match. Make something, make a moment, make a face, make a sell, make a move. Do something so that it's like, you know what? Let's keep them around just that one show longer just to see. And that was always my feeling every time I went on there. Like I thought for the longest time, for 3 months, I thought, okay, they're done. And then I got 3 months. So I got way more time than people think I probably even thought I had. And there was just one day where I just got the message, like, the time's up. Okay.
Do you think, I hate to cut you off, but like Tony Khan, I thought it was an interesting admission here on one of the recent media calls, said that the COVID push is real. Do you think that that's what you got? Were you a victim? Not, I hate to say victim, but did you get the COVID push because you were available and this is the pieces they had to work with? Do you think that's what happened here?
Bro, like if you're gonna call me on that, you'd be calling people that have deals and don't have deals on that. Because let's be realistic. When AEW was on the road before the pandemic stuff was happening, they were supposed to be in Rochester.
Yeah.
Like they had the big, what was it, Blood and Guts or something like that? They were gonna do like their version of it or whatever.
Brody was that day too. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. So they had a heavy schedule, man. They were moving super heavy. And you know how that was with Dark around that time. It was like you might get one or two indie guys a show. They got the rest of their full roster at their disposal. I don't think people were like, yo, we're checking for, you know what, Suge is like a blue chip prospect. Let's check for him. Like I don't think it was ever anything like that. But because of the scenario, yeah, it makes wrestlers from Florida and Georgia and the surrounding areas just a little bit more attractive. They needed bodies. Yeah. I was a body. And the opportunity went.
You make it sound so romantic, They need.
But I'm that type of dude. I call a thing a thing.
Sure.
I've had imposter syndrome. I had imposter syndrome since the second phone call because it was like, would I be here? It was always, would I be here if it wasn't for this? And a lot of times in my mind, the answer was yes. But at the same time, I don't have time to stress that. It doesn't matter why I'm here. I need to show why I need to stay, or I need to show, hey, I was worth having even without the scenario. And, I hung on for what I could. And I'm okay with that. That's the whole journeyman thing in me. It's like nothing was ever promised to me. Nobody ever pulled me in the office. Nobody said, hey, if you're going to do this or you're going to do this, you're going to get that. I had a run. The run was the run.
Well, I will say this about Pineapple Pete. So you go away from AEW, and all of a sudden, randomly, you pop up in Raw Underground a week or so ago, right? And I saw you in our Raw Underground. I was very happy for you. I was like, that's cool. So you should go over there. But I know that, for guys like you, you pick up these kinds of roles. It wasn't like, didn't blow my mind or anything.
Sure.
Come Thursday, though, more people had picked up on you. We ran a headline that said Pineapple Pete appears in WWE Raw Underground. That was the most trafficked item of the day. Tons of traffic you drove with that one there. So what happened here? How did you wind up in the Raw Underground? What led to this leap here for you?
So very interesting set of circumstances. Like, so I got the message. They were just like, hey, cutting down on extras, et cetera, et cetera. Let me know about my length of time. Like they pretty much let it be known. It's like, you've been there a while. Something may come up soon, something may come up later, but for now, that's it. Cool. Thanks, everybody. We move on to the next thing. So I had to take a moment. And the thing about it is, it's like there are people out there that if the extra work isn't there, they don't have anything going on.
Right.
And that's not necessarily their fault. It's just one of those cases where they don't have the resources. I'm not in that position. I've always been a guy that's made more even when I've had less going on. So, you do what you're supposed to do. You start making phone calls. You start asking people what's up. And something very interesting happened in the midst of all that. As I started making phone calls, as I started asking questions, there were so many people that thought I had signed a deal already. Because they do have people that are under contract that don't get the such and such is all elite graphic.
Right.
So it happens like that.
Okay.
But you make the assumption that you're seeing somebody this regularly all the time. There were assumptions made that, oh, okay, so you must have signed a deal. Nope, didn't. I got my check every 2 weeks, like in the mail, no direct deposit. I couldn't even tell you what the contract looks like, the verbiage, any of that. And it was cool. It was what it was. So once I guess word got passed around that it was like, oh, well, okay. It was one of those things. It's like it was a bit bittersweet because I found out there were some opportunities I probably could have slid into if people had known that like 2 months or 3 months earlier.
Huh.
But I don't have time to dwell on that. Like, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
And again, like it was a good learning experience. I've never been that deep in the game, especially for that long. Like, how do you be there for 6 months and not pick stuff up?
Sure.
It really helped my game. It helped tighten me up. It made me better for when I got back to the Indies.
Right.
But then I just got I got an email and it was like, hey, do you want to come through? Sure, I want to come through. And then it's like, hey, do you want to come through again? Sure, I'll come through again. Hey, do you want to do this track and field segment with Bianca Belair? Sure, let me go get my running clothes.
Yeah.
And we go do that.
Well, before we get to the Bianca Belair stuff here real quick, because I have a question about that, but with the Raw Underground, Shug, you're like a part of history. I mean, not just in the sense that, like, there's this very weird COVID thing, there's the Wednesday Night War, but, like, you were a part of Raw Underground, and I don't know if you noticed or heard, but, like, Raw Underground wasn't on Raw this past week.
Okay.
We don't know. I mean, I don't know what vibe you got from Raw Underground. Do you think we'll see it coming back or no? What do you think?
Let me tell you something about Raw Underground.
Okay.
Like, I think a lot of people get me confused because, like, I tell a lot of jokes. I take things seriously, but I don't tend to, like, be serious or you know that about me.
Yes, I'm very
try to be chill. I really enjoy what they have with Raw Underground. I think they're trying to still work out the kinks. As far as I'm concerned, until, like, because everybody's had reports of a bunch of outbreaks happening, whether it be the Indies, whether it be AEW, whether it be WWE. This is the worst news week I've heard in terms of, like, outbreaks.
Yeah.
So I just get a feeling that it's probably more so based around that. I don't think they've abandoned Underground, but I could be wrong.
I get
But
it. Okay.
Underground is a hell of a concept. It's pretty cool. And the thing that I liked about the last episode of it was it didn't have like the MTV camera cuts. Right. They were actually, like, focusing on things that were happening. And to me, because I'm a fan of, as you know, I'm a fan of battle arts, I'm a fan of World of Sport. Okay. Like those close combat quarters. I didn't get to show that off on national TV, but on the Indies, I think people will get to see that I do that style and I do it a lot.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, with that kind of style, you want to be close up. You want to see. You need that long shot to see what's happening, because if you chop stuff up, you miss stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time that they consciously, like, okay, let them see how ugly it is. And the fights were cool. And you got wrestlers that know what they're doing. You got wrestlers that are combat trained. You got wrestlers that got MMA backgrounds, all sorts of stuff. I think it's a cool concept. Like, I dig it. I had fun.
Was it fun just watching Braun Strowman up close just, like, annihilate people and it not have to be you? You were like, it's more fun that it's not me. Or would you have more fun if you'd have been able to get knocked around?
I have no idea until it happens. For all I know, it might be like a circus ride just getting thrown around by him, but I'll never know yet. Okay. I don't rule anything out at this point anymore.
All right. So, all right. Well, one other thing I wanted to ask you about Raw Underground, obviously, at least from the forefront, it looks like Shane McMahon is, like, running this thing. He's the host, he's the ref, he's, kind of ref, whatever. Mm-hmm. When it's on set, is Shane running the show when it comes to what is Raw Underground and how that thing is produced, and or is that just a character that he's kind of playing as part of it?
Oh no, there's a team for everything, so, like, they got backup producers, all that other stuff like that and everything. So I don't think they're gonna leave too much to just playing it loose and fast. with that. But yes, he's definitely interactive with what's going on and how he wants it and how he wants it to look. I actually dig how passionate he is about it because he's a fight enthusiast.
Right.
So when he's looking at how he wants stuff to come across, hey, you should try it this way, or realistically, if you're trying to go for this switch or trying to go into this guard, you wouldn't go into it that way. You go to it this way, and yada yada yada, and this and that. But no, for real, like
He's talking to the wrestlers as they're putting together. He's helping to like actually put together these Raw Underground fights. It sounds
like they're coming up like to keep in mind. A lot of the performers, you know, either they've been in a real fight or they have that training, or they dabble in it as well too. So with him having that background in it as well, sometimes he'll see what they're putting together and he'll just be like, hey, if you for authenticity's sake, blah 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 blah, you might want to do this, you might want to do that, and it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Saying like sometimes I think the camera cuts don't do it justice because you miss out on that kind of stuff. And if you're a real enthusiast who like watches UFC and you watch all that other stuff like that, that's the stuff you want to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to ask too about the Raw Underground, and there you are. You froze for a moment there.
Okay, you did too. Gotcha.
Okay, great. We're good. We're back in action. Here.
Absolutely.
Last Raw Underground thing was Shane there though. Did you ever see Vince? Was Vince ever walking around helping to produce any of the Raw Underground?
I have never seen that man in the flesh in real life, and I've done extra work prior to WWE like I think 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Like I think I'm actually gonna beat. I'll probably end up by the looks of it. I think it's like I'll probably end up doing more extra work for them in a few months than I have in a span of like 5 years. So like, but I have never seen him in the flesh like for anything or whatever it is. It's like,
yeah,
it's like The Godfather. You got to get an appointment, or you just got to catch him while he out.
All right. What was it like working with Bianca Belair, man? That was really cool. Like, I love how again it's like you're not on the WWE radar, then you're in the Raw Underground, and now it's just you and 4 other people like kind of on camera together.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like for you?
Dude, she's like she's everything they say she is. Like I have an appreciation, especially after being on the indies for so long and getting a chance to meet all these different personalities. What will always impress me is when somebody has room to have an attitude and you could probably excuse them for it and they don't. Like if anything, it's the exact opposite. And she goes in that category. I mean, she's driven, she's smart, hell of an athlete, all this other stuff like that, but she's very personable. She took that segment, which again another educational experience because people don't realize that segment was like what, 1:45.
Yeah.
You don't realize all the work it takes to get that 1:45, the angles, the shots, you know, the way that it's framed, all that other stuff like that. Me being a film buff, I dig that.
Yeah.
But for her, like, oh my God, like she was up to the challenge, man. Like anything that they were asking her to do, there literally was a cut. Not to not to talk bad on Meltzer, but like before I even got on here, I guess there was like a clip from his show where he was like, I guess he's not a fan of like those vignettes of hers or whatever it is.
Okay.
Or something along the lines. It's like he don't understand how she'd be able to do all that, like with the braid or whatever it is. There was like a big conversation about that. There literally is a cut of her doing that run. They didn't use it. They didn't use it for that. But there's literally a cut of her from the very start all the way down to the finish line. And she's booking and running and doing the hurdles, and she's got the braid in her hair, and she knocked it out in one take. Man. And this is a girl who hasn't done track in forever. She's completely trained her body for a whole nother sport. And like for her, she was getting frustrated because she couldn't go faster or she wasn't hopping it, and like she was killing it. You know, it's like she's like, I'm maybe 75% right now. So that's scary because that's her 75 on camera. And like you've seen the videos, I think, of her back in the day when like this was all she did. So for her to come in that day and for her to knock all that out physically, still be a total peach, like to everybody when everything's going on, etc., just smiling, just happy, telling jokes and all that other stuff. Like, yo, she's a real one. She's good. Like they got something super special in her. And I think that was obvious even if you haven't met her.
Well, lastly here, Suge, to kind of wrap it up, man, it has been quite the summer of Suge here, and it doesn't seem like I guess we're in the fall of Suge now. I'm not
Right.
sure. That sounds negative. I'm not going to say that again. The fall of Suge.
Oh, like
Um,
that's very Roman. Like that's very Roman times the way that sounds.
You had a chance to, I mean, you've been in a very unique position to be in the locker room of both these companies here, side by side, in a very unique period. How do the cultures compare between the two companies? Do you notice a difference when it comes to the two locker rooms?
I feel like I hadn't been back to WWE's in some time, so they definitely loosened up on some stuff since returning. It's just one of those cases where I'm looking at it and the atmosphere is just a little bit more. It's hectic. Don't get me wrong. There's always something going on,
Yeah.
but it's gotten a little bit more chill in just the way that their dealings with extras and all that other stuff like that. It's just chill, man. Like now, before it kind of used to be one of those things where it was like, don't talk to anybody, just stay off in this little corner over here and everything like that. But now everything is easy. You just be where you're supposed to be and everything stuff. Of course, you show up in your suit and all the other good stuff like that.
Yeah.
AEW is just casual. Like they do their thing. It's just a bunch of dudes getting together to make some wrestling.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all corporate wrestling though.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody should get it twisted that it's like, oh my God, like it's just so much more chill over on this side. It's chill, but it's still a TV wrestling product. So there's still stuff that goes on that's high pressure and everything that's going on. And it's the same thing over with that other side, so it's a little bit more hectic because they've been doing it longer. They got more people to answer to, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's all TV wrestling. And coming from a guy that just had a match at a fair show last weekend and was at an American Legion before that, it's like there's differences.
Yeah.
There's always going to be differences when it's all said and done. But like when you're in those positions, you just got to be ready to work. You got to be ready to show out. You got to be ready to just take the little and make more of it. Because I think people notice that. And I think people pay attention to that.
Awesome, man. Well, Suge, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat. What a journey, man. In the last half hour here, I feel like we've covered so much ground. What do you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up the show today or the interview?
Let's see, at Sugar Dunkerton on Twitter, ProWrestlingTees.com/Sugar Dunkerton for all your Pineapple Pete /Suge needs. I'll definitely be at Action Wrestling Friday, October the 2nd.
Time out, real quick. Big question I did mean to ask you here, and I never cut off anybody in the outro, but who owns Pineapple Pete? Is it you or AEW? Or what? Can you call yourself Pineapple Pete? What's
as far as everything goes, I put the trademark in for it. Haven't had any kind it could change as of you asking this question. Okay. But like I put the trademark in for it. Nobody's contested it. So for right now, it's me.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. So if I get the cease and desist letter and you see like Guava Gary or something like that come out, then yeah. But like
Guava Gary.
I ain't going out like that. Like if I'm not going out like that. If it's one of those cases where if it's one of the cases where it gets come for or whatever it is, just have it. I got a million more. I can come up with something different. That's like independent spirit. Plus I just like Suge anyway.
Anyway, back to your shilling. I apologize.
No, you're good. It was a great question.
Yeah.
GCW's got the collective coming up the 9th or the 11th in Indiana. So I'll be doing For the Culture, which is a very important show to me because that's a all black performer wrestler show. Friday evening, it's gonna be like at midnight. You got Will Hobbs. Shout out to Will Hobbs. Earned his contract. Earned every bit of that, man. Like I'm super happy for him. Like getting that. Like I can't tell you enough because that was a guy who flew in and he didn't know, and he's trying to make it happen for his kids and his wife, and he got it. And he deserves it. And I think anybody that'll tell you who runs into Will Hobbs, great human being, hell of a wrestler. He deserves it. But he'll be at that show. Desmond Xavier, AJ Gray, Too Cold Scorpio, yada yada. I'm gonna be wrestling Trisha Dora for the Pan African World Dysphoria Championship.
That's That is an incredible name for a championship. I
Absolutely, it's a beautiful championship and a beautiful legacy, and I look forward to challenging for that. And then I got O'Shea Edwards Sunday evening for Paradigm Pro. Might pop up some other places. That's been my gimmick. That's what I do. Um, I guess in closing, the big thing I would try to tell you is I think people get very caught up on I am of no worth unless somebody with initials has given me worth. You have to have a recognized worth in yourself and your abilities before that even comes around. So like whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, PWG, whatever it is, just focus on being good. Like focus on being good at whatever it is that you do. Because I feel like a good journeyman or journeywoman or what have you at the end of the day will always have work. They'll always have work. I haven't hurt for work. I've looked for it a lot, but I've been active and I've always been on top of that. And even if WWE opportunities dry up, even if I never get a call back from AEW, the Indies will sustain me or something else will come up because I believe in me. I believe in my work ethic, and I think anybody that does this needs to do that too.